Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a massive part that's very integral for the future of this scenario. But before we get into that, we need to shout out the patron as usual. So FNAF World Park, thank you very much for your continued support. And also you guys, analytics are very important. So please take a look at the stats down below, and don't forget to drop a like and a comment to help fuel the algorithm. And if this is your first time here, turn on the notifications and hit the subscribe button so that way you'll never miss another upload from the channel. And if you want to consider supporting us even further, please consider joining Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. You're going to get exclusive access to content that I don't place here on YouTube, plus you'll get early access to everything I do release. But with all of that being said, let's get into what if Ash won the Pokemon World Championship Season 3 Part 3, Rivaled Journeys. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part in a place that is well removed from the modern world of man, known as Absentia National Park. This place is the refuge of many Pokemon, both natural and unnatural to the Pokemon world. Among the beauty of nature, we see the striking contrast that is man-made. The clone swarm known as Genesect has made a peaceful existence here in this valley, protecting it from the threats of the modern world. We even see a familiar face here in the form of the green-haired man known as N. After his father and Team Plasma fell, the man found himself in this place and decided to call it home, occasionally coming out into the real world with the help of the valley's other part-time resident, the clone that battled the Genesect, Mewtwo. It is on one of these many days that we find the valley with Genesect completing their daily tasks without a care in the world. However, their peaceful existence is going to be shattered when their leader, the red Genesect, starts flashing. Suddenly, its eyes glow red and it begins to attack everything in sight. This causes the others to try and stop their leader, but they all pale in comparison to the metallic red, as they are subpar at best. However, this destruction does trigger something, as one of the Genesect mentally reaches out to their previous savior. This triggers a flash of light, and then Mewtwo appears to engage and try and stop the rampage of Red. This battle takes to the skies and forces Mewtwo into its mega form to match the power of Genesect. This tips things in the favor of the clone. However, this isn't for long, as Red begins using its control over the others to override their free will and cause them to attack. With all 5 of the Genesect, Mewtwo is unable to compete and is overpowered and left in a crater on the valley floor, and rushes to the clone's side, pleading to stop this madness. But they simply ignore this command and fire a collective technoblast and leave the two to their fate before flying off to a storm in the distance. As the smoke fades, it's revealed that Mewtwo put up a barrier with the last of its energy and looks at the clone, trying to help it up. What happened to them, he questions. Mewtwo states that it doesn't know what, but something is influencing them through Red. Unless they can break the signal, then they will remain prisoners in their own bodies. Is it something that you can do? No. There is only one that can break the control over them, the one that created them and me, the man known as Colorus, and gulps, because he knows that this means one thing. He's going to have to face the one person he never wanted to, his father. Now we move over to a dark room hidden in the depths of the Unova region. In this room, at a table with a single chair, sits a man that hasn't seen the light of day since he was captured, the former head of Team Plasma's science division, Colorus. The man sits at this table, unsure of why he is here, but with a guess of what this is about, as every now and then he will have one visitor. Sure enough, this guess is spot on, as from within the darkness emerges Looker. The scientist rambles on about how they have to stop meeting like this. After their first conversation, there hasn't been nothing new to add to their relationship. However, Colorus is going to be thrown for a loop when Looker states that he won't be asking the questions, before taking off the cuffs to ease the tension of this new situation. The agent then steps back into the dark with a warning: don't try anything. Colorus demands to know what Looker's game is, fear now building within his voice. However, this is met with silence, allowing the man to stew and become even more uneasy. The minutes begin to tick by as Colorus begins to sweat. Tick tock. The clock counts down every second. Now twitching in his chair, Colorus is at the point that they wanted. Then, as the man can no longer stand the silence, a voice that strikes Colorus in shock comes from within the darkness. We have a lot to talk about my apprentice as Fuji emerges. Now we move over to the storm that has formed over Unova. From within it, safely, the plasma freight hovers as from within, Zinzolin monitors the storm and the source of its power. This is where he is joined by the rest of the sages as they begin to question Zinzolin on his plans. They are behind schedule fragile and don't have what they need to set things in motion. The location of Master Ghetsis and the technology of Colorus is needed to proceed. However, Zinzolin reveals that they have captured the tech of Colorus, which is how they are able to control the storm. It was all outfitted to the freight. That is why they are behind. Zinzolin didn't want to leave anything to chance, but we are still missing the power to take control of the dragon. Oh, don't worry about that, he says. Everything is in place, and we will have all that is needed to achieve our goals. Now we flash back to the dark room with Colorus and Fuji. The old man has been firing direct questions to Colorus, but he remains casual in his answers, wanting to know about Fuji. The last time he had come up in conversation, it was how the doctor died in an explosion only a few weeks after Colorus had left. Realizing that Colorus won't respond to force, Fuji decides to play ball and sits down on a chair that has been slid from within the darkness. I was supposed to be dead, but I was spared by the one that destroyed the lab. Giovanni captured it and led it to a life of violence, but thanks to a remarkable young man, the clone was able to find peace. The info relaxes Colorus and leads him to talk about how his quest to understand the true potential of Pokemon is what led him to working for Team Plasma. However, they only wanted one thing, the same thing that Giovanni wanted, so I was forced to create 5 weapons for them. Project G, Fuji interjects. Yes, it was supposed to be the most advanced creation, even more than yours. However, there was something missing, and I couldn't get the DNA to stabilize. However, when things seemed lost, I was visited by someone that I thought I would never see. I believe you called it Mewtwo. Thinking that he finally has Colorus where he wants, the old man leans in. However, things take a sudden turn with Colorus's next sentence. I bet a lot of the technology that you had captured from Team Plasma on that day has gone missing. What? No, Fuji says. I want to know about Mewtwo. But Colorus isn't looking at the old man. This prompts Looker to step in. What do you know about the stolen goods? This is where Colorus's glasses light up. I don't know anything, but I do know it was used to activate my weapons, and they will be here soon. Looker steps forward, but is stopped when an explosion rocks the base. Outside hovers the plasma freight, using the storm as cover while what's left of their field operatives descend in the base. While on the bridge of the ship, the sages tell Zinzolin he is mad. They agreed that they would not attack this place as they didn't have the numbers or means to free Master Ghetsis. However, the Ice Master smiles sadistically, stating they do have the means, if they would just be quiet and watch. This is when the Genesect descend and begin to ravage the base and all of its occupants, while drawing all of the attention to the metallic bugs. Back in the base, Looker locks Fuji and Colorus in a room. I'll be back. Don't leave here for any reason. What have you done? Fuji yells. However, Colorus remains calm. Nothing you didn't do first. This causes Fuji to plead with his former apprentice to give him the answers he seeks before it's too late. But Colorus won't budge. Don't worry, they don't want me or you. They are only here for one person. This will be over soon, and then we can go back to having our conversation. It's then an explosion can be felt really close to them, causing the old man to panic even more, thinking Colorus isn't being truthful. Then a loud commotion can be heard from outside before another explosion, then what sounds like a battle moving away. Fuji is confused. See, I told you, they didn't want either of us. If not you, then who did they take? Fuji questions. However, he's going to get his answer when Looker comes barging back into the room, demanding to know where they took Ghetsis. But the captive simply shrugs. I don't know. Bull, Looker yells. Those were your weapons, so you must know something. But Color maintains his innocence. They got what they wanted from me, so I'm of no use. Really? And what was that? Looker demands. Simple. A way to control Pokemon. An army to battle the most terrifying creature Unova has ever seen. And a way to make the beast whole again. Okay, that's it, Looker yells. You're going to start talking right now. However, the man is interrupted when a flash and a visible force rushes the area that they stand in, causing everyone to separate. Once everyone's visions return, they can see the cause of this attack. Before them stands the one known as N. Hey, what are you doing here? Looker yells, but N says nothing, simply picking up Colorus. Then something that Fuji thought he would never actually find teleports in. Mewtwo, but not the one he created, the one Colorus made. Hey, wait, I need to ask you something, Fuji yells, but Mewtwo simply looks at the old man, then teleports it, N, and Colorus away, leaving everyone in complete ignorance of what just happened. Fuji drops to his knees, sobbing. I have to know, he says. This is when he feels a tap on his shoulder. Come on, old man. There's no need for tears. If you want your answers, then you're going to have to come with me. Fuji doesn't understand, but Looker reveals a tracking device that is inside of the suits of all inmates that they wear. While they can't find Ghetsis at the moment, Colorus is still working, and Looker has a feeling that he is the key to solving this whole thing. So they are going to find them, come the reverse world or high water. This is where we pick back up with Ash and the rest of the group. It's the exact moment after his coronation battle when Zinzolin took Pikachu. Ash can do nothing but scream at the top of his lungs for them to bring back his Pikachu, but this falls on deaf ears as the plasma freight takes off, following the storm inland. Ash struggles to free himself from its icy prison, but the boy can't even move a fist. However, this won't have to wait for long, as the group is quickly freed by Raboot and Riolu. The combination of fire and fighting moves make quick work of the ice, and Ash runs to the edge of the battlefield crying for Pikachu, only for the skyboat to activate its thrusters and vanish into the distance. Dropping to his knees, Ash begins to cry. This flare of emotions has an effect on Riolu, as it once again finds itself sinking with the boy, as their emotions slowly meld into one. Iris and Go tell Ash that they can still catch up, but they need to leave now. Standing up, Ash nods as Go and Iris both release their Dragonites. Then, Iris tells Marlin that he needs to get word out that Team Plasma has returned. Let all of the leaders and the Elite Four know so they can be on high alert. The leader tells the champion he's already on it before running into the gym. This is when Iris and Go mount their dragons with Ash. Raboot joins Go while Ash calls for Riolu to join him with Iris. However, the fighting type turns and bolts away in the direction that the freight had headed. Ash calls for Riolu, but Iris tells him to wait. They can use this as it seems like Riolu may be tracking Pikachu. Nodding, the trio takes off into the skies, doing their best not to lose sight of Riolu on the ground below. Here we shift perspectives to the boat as the leader, Ghetsis, joins Zinzolin on the bridge of the ship. Around him stands the other sages, as the master smiles, asking where they are with Project G. Smiling, Zinzolin pushes a button on the console, activating 3 different screens. One of them shows Pikachu in a capture device that seems to be draining it of all of the electricity it uses to attempt to break free, while on the outside, the 5 Genesect fly around the ship, forming a protective formation. Then, the third one is fixed on the storm they are following. It intensifies as they travel inland. Ghetsis asks if they have full control of it. Zinzolin comments that Colorus may have not been fully invested in our dream, but his technology proves to be exactly what he promised. After the failure with Reshiram, I modified to compensate for the flux and power the dragons are capable of. This causes Ghetsis to glare at Zinzolin, causing the sage to clench. It had better be, he sneers, before looking out into the storm as a pair of glowing red eyes look back. You will all be mine, the leader says as the freight speeds to the location that will usher in the rule of Plasma. Now we move over to our heroes as they are flying above Riolu as it moves down Route 22. The fighting type is moving with a sense of purpose, seemingly unable to focus on anything but the current issue. Ash yells for Riolu to hurry. They have to find the boat. However, at this point, Iris is beginning to think she knows where they are heading, but things are going to be brought to a sudden halt when Riolu stops and begins to look around. The fighting type begins to take a defensive stance, as if something is going to attack. Ash yells for Riolu to keep moving. They don't have time for this, but Go yells that there is something down there in the trees. Then it happens. From within the brush, something leaks out and attacks Riolu. It is revealed to be one of the swords of justice known as Cobalion. It seems to be super aggressive, attacking Riolu and attempting to attack the trio that hovers above, but the dragons are able to easily dodge as Riolu engages in battle with Cobalion, drawing all of its attention. The first stage seems to be doing well against the sword, considering that Ash isn't giving it any commands, but to stop battling. However, Riolu ignores this as the glow in its eyes fades and it has fully regained its own thoughts, solely fixated on the battle with its opponent. Ash prepares to send in one of his other Pokemon to stop this, but Iris tells him to wait. Look at Cobalion. It's hurt. Looking closer, they can see that this is the truth, as it flinches after dodging an attack, causing it to take a knee. Riolu sees this as an opening, trying to attack once again, but Ash sends in Duwat to block the attack. Riolu, stop, Ash yells. Cobalion is already hurt. This interference causes the fighting type to finally stop as the dragons land. Iris and Go run to Cobalion to check on it while Ash distracts Riolu, telling it that the fighting type needs to stop and think. Others are in danger and it's trying to feed its own vanity. This causes a brief argument between the two. However, this stops when Cobalion stands up with a look of concern on its face, taking off into the forest in the direction of the storm in the distance. Iris tells Ash that there is only one reason that all of the swords of justice have been in these particular routes across the Unova region. Also, there's only one that we haven't come across yet, and that can only mean one thing. This is where it hits Ash. Keldeo. That means that Plasma must be after Kyurem, Ash says. Iris nods nods, finally realizing the gravity of the situation. The two mount the Dragonite while Ash recalls Duat, telling Go that they need to hurry. Things are far worse than they thought. The boy nods, snapping a quick picture of the footprints of Cobalion before joining Ash and Iris in the sky as they fly off. Their hasty departure leaves Riolu standing there. It seems whatever is going on is of great importance. However, Riolu's fighting spirit sees this as an attempt for a challenge, as it is now the one following the dragons in the sky. Now we move over to a place that most citizens of Unova actively avoid due to the many rumors and legends surrounding it, the giant chasm. For thousands of years, this place has been rumored to be the home of a monster. In more recent times, this has been fueled by man's expansion to look for natural resources, as within each exploration of this untamed land, no one has ever returned. Surrounded by a frozen tundra that by all standards of measurement shouldn't exist in the area of the region that it does, the secrets of this place have been kept tightly guarded. This leads us to the present moment, as we see two very familiar Pokemon from the past of Ash and Iris at battle with one another, the ones known as Keldeo and Kyurem. However, the reason for this battle is an odd one. Kyurem seems to be obsessed with the thought of escaping this place to the point that it has lost all of its mental faculties that it has displayed in the past. It's here we find Keldeo in its resolute form, as we see it pleading with Kyurem to stop all this savage behavior. The mayor knows that the dragon can understand it, or at least used to be able to understand it. However, it seems to only have one thought, and that is to escape. This is where we see Keldeo flash back to a conversation that it had with the other swords. They became aware of Kyurem escaping the chasm, attacking people and Pokemon in the areas surrounding it, so they all banded together to force the beast back from which it came. However, Cobalion was hurt in the process, so in order to keep people away until Kyurem would calm down, the swords decided to set up a perimeter around the area to keep people out. However, what they thought would only be a few days has turned into several weeks. At first, the swords would take turns keeping the dragon confined to the area, but they had their limits, and it seemed that Kyurem has been driven by some unforeseen force, as it would only rest a mere couple of hours before being back at it again, pushing the swords to their limit. They eventually came to the conclusion that if Kyurem wouldn't stop, then they would have to end its existence in this world for the safety of everyone. But this proves to be fruitless, as they could never all attack at once. Cobalion was never able to fully heal, so at best it would only ever be 3 of the 4 attacking. This proceeds until we get to the current day, with Keldeo battling the Husk alone. The resolute stallion is tired and drained, as it has been in this battle for nearly a week with little to no rest or nearly nothing to eat. However, it won't falter. They have to protect the innocent. This is when Kyurem begins to attack with a Glaciate. Keldeo steals its resolve, preparing a Sacred Sword. However, in this moment, the days of battling catches up with it, and the youngest of the swords revert to its basic form, completely drained of all its energy. This results in it being unable to fend off the ice move and being flash frozen in the process. Kyurem has finally done it. With nothing else standing in its way, the dragon prepares to ascend the crater slope in order to once again venture out in search of what will make it whole. However, at this moment, a storm has begun to circle above the chasm, as black clouds, lightning, and ice blow through the air with an intensity as if they were emotions. Kyurem stops its advance to the outside world. Looking up, the beast of myth can feel it. One of its other halves is within the storm. However, this moment of longing for completion is going to be interrupted when the 5 Genesect descend from within the clouds and begin to unleash a barrage of technoblasts on the dragon. This begins to take great effect on the dragon, as it seems that the bugs are too much for it to handle. However, this is only a momentary thing, as with Kyurem's other half only meters above, the dragon is ready to take whatever means necessary to become whole again. This results in a battle with all 5 of the metallic fossils, and Kyurem using Glaciate to flash freeze each one of the Genesects as they come in contact with him. This eventually comes down to just the red Genesect that is now face to face with the dragon. However, this is when it is seemingly recalled, as the bug stands up and flies back to the plasma freight. But as the bug disappears into the clouds above, from within descends the black dragon of lightning, Zekrom. But there is something off about it. With its eyes glazed over in red, the dragon seems far more aggressive than it should be, as we pan to the barge above, where the Genesect has joined Ghetsis and Zinzolin as they watch what unfolds from the safety of their base. Master, what should we do with Genesect? Shut it down. Though it has great power, it will no longer be needed after what comes. As the battle rages below, Zekrom proves that even though it is at full power and Kyurem has been battling non-stop, the dragon just isn't on the same level as the husk monster. Even with Kyurem running on fumes, Zekrom still can't gain any edge over it. However, this is when Ghetsis deploys the last stage of Project G. From the ship, something appears at the front of it. It's Pikachu. However, the mouse seems to be overcome by its most basic instincts, as its eyes glow red. Then Ghetsis gives a command. Fire! Suddenly, the mouse lets loose with the most powerful electric attacks that it can muster. However, it's not targeting Kyurem, but Zekrom. This is when we see the reason why Pikachu was captured. Team Plasma had learned about the interaction that the mouse had had with Zekrom when it first came to Unova. If the mouse could take that much power from the dragon and live, then the thought was the reverse could be done as well, and Plasma could use Pikachu as a power source to power Kyurem so it could gain the edge over its counterpart. What follows is round 2, as Zekrom, now glowing in an electric aura, clashes with Kyurem. However, this time the result is far different, as the Black Dragon quickly overtakes the Dragon of Grey, leaving it unconscious at the feet of Zekrom, while Pikachu continues to feed the electricity into the dragon. Smiling, Ghetsis orders Zenzolan to activate the Splicer. They will no longer be denied his birthright. This is where the mouth of the ship opens and begins to glow. Then a beam of light fires that consumes both Zekrom and Kyurem. A blinding light erupts from within the chasm that can be seen for miles around. This is where we finally see Ash and his friends join the fray. From the backs of their Dragonite, Ash can see Pikachu on the deck of the ship. It has fainted from all the stress of all of its power being drained. The boy yells, saying that they need to get up there. However, Go points out that they may have bigger problems, as from within the light steps a beast unlike the world has ever seen, a dragon of ice and lightning that causes the area to tremble with each step. From above, Ghetsis laughs maniacally. At last, Plasma will rule over everything with an iron fist. Nothing can contest our power. Now, Zenzolan, find Reshiram. The moment we have it, my beast will be complete, and we will begin our conquest. Now, we flash over to a place buried deep in the past in the forests of Unova. This is the ruins of the lab that not only created the Genesect, but years earlier, Colorus was approached by a clone Pokemon that his mentor had spent his lifetime creating. It's here we see the results of the cloning, as Colorus and the Pokemon Empath N teleport in moments after they escape from the Interpol prison. Upon seeing this lab, Colorus begins to reminisce, walking around the ruins. Here, this spot he points to. This is where you were born, he says, looking at the psychic type. Your birth ushered in all of the advances in my research, the Pokemon controlling technology and the creation of the Genesect. You were all the product of Project G. However, while they were all bound by Plasma, you, a clone of the most powerful Pokemon, was my greatest creation. A sentient being not bound by the whims of Plasma. It was truly my greatest achievement. However, this ego trip is only met with one comment from the clone. Quiet. For once in your life, you will listen while we talk. Colorus silences himself, now wondering what angle the two are working and how he can use it to his advantage. N states that they want to break the control his father has over the Genesect. He knows that Colorus is in possession of this knowledge. Playing coy, the blonde-haired man feigns ignorance, telling them that he has no idea what they are talking about, so he's afraid that he can't help them, and tells Colorus to drop the act. He worked for Plasma for years, but he was never their slave. You only partnered with them for your own ambitions. With a sigh, Colorus admits this to be true. A harsh lesson learned from my mentor. Only give them just enough to please the dictator, but not enough to put yourself in harm's way. That was always Fuji's greatest weakness. Willing to do anything to achieve his goals, including not protecting himself. It's a mere coincidence that he managed to survive that explosion on New Island. However, this is where N tells him to stop. He pleads with him to help them stop his father. He can't be allowed to do what he has planned, or everything, including what you have built, will be left to ruin. However, the scientist refuses, stating that he can't help them as there's no personal stake in it for him. He achieved everything in his life. So far as he's concerned, there is no need for him to help. Realizing that he will not help of his own goodwill and is left at a dead end. I guess you leave us no choice, he says. This is where Mewtwo begins to glow, then takes on its mega form, and as its eyes glows, Colorus begins to levitate. We will pull the information out of you one way or another. Mewtwo can take it by force. However, However, Colorus simply laughs. "You haven't told him, have you?" And looks at the clone. "Told me what?" Now laughing even more, Colorus states that they are really terrible at the whole good cop bad cop routine. The only way it will work is if you are holding at least some of the cards. But in this case, I hold them all. What is he talking about? And demands. Suddenly, Mewtwo drops the scientist and reverts to his original form. I can't pull the information from him, nor can I bring any type of harm towards him. What do you mean by this? The clone looks down as Colorus chimes in. Another lesson I learned. You see, when I learned of the destruction of the lab on New Island, I thought my mentor was gone, annihilated by its own creation. Then, when that same clone showed up on my door asking for help in your creation, I knew that I couldn't let the same thing happen. So, during the sequencing of your genes, I implanted a coating that would not allow you to bring any harm to me in any form. That includes reading my mind. I assume that's why you two came in and saved me just in the nick of time, but I don't think you truly understood why that was needed, did you? Like I said, in order to get what you want, you at least have to be holding some of the cards. Looking up, Mewtwo flares with psychic aura out of frustration, only for N to ask if what he speaks is the truth. Subsiding its frustration, the clone states that it is. It's at this point they are left with only one real option. Looking at Colorus, both in tandem ask what his price is for his help. With a very unsettling smile on his face, the scientist says, "Now that's more like it," leaving both Mewtwo and N mentally questioning what have they both just agreed to. Back above the chasm, Iris, Ash, and Go decide that they are going to split up. Iris says that she will draw the attention of Team Plasma by battling Kyurem, so Ash and Go can get on the boat and rescue Pikachu. Knowing there is no other way, Ash jumps onto the back of Go's dragon, and they immediately head off in separate directions. Iris commands her Dragonite to use a flamethrower to stop Kyurem. This triggers exactly what she was going for, as from above, Ghetsis sees the champion in Unova. The strongest trainer in the region is here. So the Plasma leader decides that it would be the perfect time to accomplish two things. Get a feel for his new Kyurem Black, as he has come to call it, and stomp out any opposition to his plans once and for all. The sage tells Zenzolan to man the controls and prepare to depart once he has finished with this. Then he heads to the loading dock to handle this personally. Outside of the ship, Ash and Go watch under the cover of the storm as Ghetsis leaves it. As the stage departs, Go commands Dragonite to fly faster, so they can get inside before the hatch closes. However, as they arrive, they are met with a horde of plasma grunts and are forced to engage in battle with them. Ash calls on Gengar, Gabite, and Duwat, telling the ghost to search for the ship for Pikachu, while Go calls on Raboot, Drizzile, and Arctozote. The boy quickly finds out that Drizzile isn't willing to participate in this battle. Knowing they don't have time for its antics, Go recalls the water starter as they prepare to fend off all of the Liepard and Swoobat that have been called on to battle the two boys. Down below, Iris and Ghetsis come face to face. The leader tells the champion that it's nice to see her again. The last time their paths crossed, she was an unknown trainer, but now she's the champion of the whole region. It even seems that you're more of an active champion than that buffoon Alder, but that won't make a difference. However, Iris seems unfazed by all of these comments, telling Ghetsis that he is just a relic from the past like his dragon, so he should return there if he doesn't want to lose again. After all, the future is now, and Iris is the start of that future. This triggers Ghetsis to think I was considering an offer to you to be on the right side of history, but I see now that would be wasted on a youth like you with no vision for the future. Iris tries to say something, but she is interrupted when Riolu makes its presence known with a cheap shot of a force bomb to the back of Kyurem's head before landing right in front of it. This angers the dragon, triggering an attack that forces an all-out battle to begin. This pleases Ghetsis, as he can see the power of his new beast, ordering it to freeze everything. The black dragon prepares to blanket the surrounding area in a glaciate. Riolu welcomes this challenge. However, Iris knows this is a bad thing, so she sends in her entire team of dragons to try and help and escape the oncoming assault. She commands Dragonite to rush in and try to grab Riolu, while telling Excadrill to use Flash Cannon to combat the ice move. However, Riolu knows what she is up to and runs straight into the danger, causing Iris to yell for it to come back. But the fighting type is quick and able to get in close, with Kyurem's attention focused on Iris's other Pokemon. This allows it to once again land a Force Palm to the lower jaw of the dragon. This stops the glaciate for a moment, allowing Excadrill to land the flash cannon. Riolu stands there with a smirk, feeling pretty confident that this dragon isn't so tough and it will be able to easily handle it by itself. Iris yells for it not to be foolish. They need to retreat, but it's too late. Ghetsis has given that command to attack in any way necessary to put an end to this threat before them. Suddenly, Kieran begins to glow in an electric aura. Knowing this isn't good, she orders Excadrill to defend Riolu while the others fall back. However, Riolu won't sit by, using a quick attack to close the gap before Excadrill can get in close. But it's going to find out just how outmatched this is when the ground underneath it becomes electrified and Riolu's body becomes unresponsive. The last thing it feels is a flash of lightning, then the pain as its body is sent hurtling through the jagged ice pillars before coming to a stop. Before it loses consciousness, the last thing it sees is Kieran preparing a glaciate and a roar that echoes through the crater. Back up on the ship, Ash and Go have made quick work of all of the grunts that were in the loading bay and have now made their way into the main part of the ship. However, this place is so big that the two decide to split up to cover more ground. This is where we find Go in the back part of the ship in some sort of strange laboratories that look like they have pretty impressive technologies. There appears to be some sort of containment units here, so the boy figures that this may be a good place where Pikachu was put after they had captured it. But as the boy looks around, he is going to be stopped by one of the sages that steps out with a laugh. "Just who might you be, boy?" This catches Go off guard a bit as Zinzolin steps through the door, ordering an attack from his Cryogonal. Thanks to Raboot and its fire spin, the boy is able to avoid being frozen like back in Humalau. The sage tells Go that he made a huge mistake by entering this freight, and because of that, Go will never see the likes of the outside world again. Go knows that things are about to get a lot colder in here as the same Beartic steps through the door. They all attack the boy without warning as Zinzolin simply orders them to freeze Go. Luckily, he is able to avoid the icy end with Raboot and his Arctozolt running interference between the attacks. This makes it a rather even playing field, as Go is able to keep up defense with being the eyes of his two Pokemon. The boy is demonstrating an impressive ability to command his Pokemon. This causes a frustration to build in Zinzolin, as he is unable to fulfill this simple task. Go thinks that having Ash as a partner has been a good thing. Watching from the sidelines for so long is really starting to pay off. However, the boy is going to be in for a rude awakening as Zinzolin has the numbers calling on the Cryogonal at his disposal. With the snowflakes all attacking Raboot, this leaves Beartic to deal directly with Arctozolt. While the typing is even, the power isn't, as Go has his focus on Raboot, leaving the fossil to fend for itself. This results in its lack of battle experience to become displayed, as it is quickly dealt with. At first, Go can't see through the flurry of ice and Cryogonal, as Raboot does its best to defend its trainer, but when it hears the cry of pain from its ice type, the boy knows they are in real trouble. Suddenly, Go loses all of his confidence that he had, as now Beartic and the horde of Cryogonal have focused on him and the fire type. With their backs to the wall and Go frozen in fear, Raboot looks ahead, knowing everything falls to it. Though it hasn't been the most lovable of Pokemon as of late, it won't abandon Go. The rabbit starter stares down the ice types, ready to make a statement as it begins to glow in an orange hue. Over with Ash, with the help of Gengar, the boy has made his way to the bridge of the ship, where he finds that it seems to be unattended. However, the sight isn't one that Ash is going to want, as in the middle of the floor, Pikachu lays unresponsive to his trainer's calls. Ash does whatever he can to try and rake up the mouse. However, from the mind control it was involved in and being used as a battery to power Zekrom, the mouse is lucky to still be breathing, as stated by a voice that comes from within the shadows of the darkened room. Suddenly, Ash finds it hard to breathe as his lungs begin to freeze up. It's here that he realizes he's been breathing in a stun spore the entire time. The only words Ash can get out is "Who's there?" in a raspy voice, before from within the shadows an Amoonguss and one of the sages of Plasma steps out. "My name is Bronius." Ash demands to know what he has done to his Pikachu. The sage states that while he hates to see Pokemon caught in the crossfire of human conflict, his Pikachu was a necessary sacrifice for the future of people and Pokemon everywhere. Its electricity is well beyond the stage of its species, and you should be proud with how well you've done with it. Because of that, little mouse, our future is secure. Now, stop fighting it, as I don't want to cause any more harm than needed to finish our mission. Ash's vision is beginning to become blurry as he musters the last bit of air in his lungs before he fades. Gengar, attack. This is where eyes appear on the floor under Bronius and his mushroom as Gengar chants its name, putting them to sleep with a hypnosis. However, this does leave the ghost in a panic as it is unsure of what to do with either Ash or Pikachu. The boy has stopped breathing and the mouse is fading fast. Gengar lets out a cry of its name as it doesn't want to be left alone again. However, just as things begin to seem hopeless, a flash envelops the room, leaving the ghost blinded by the light. However, the light is only temporary as from within it steps Colorus and Mewtwo. Get to work, the clone says. Colorus looks at Ash, Pikachu, and Gengar, recognizing them from the last time Plasma tried to capture the dragons of Unova. However, he ignores them in favor of working on the computer. This leaves Mewtwo as it looks at the boy. The clone remembers Ash as he tried to help it and the Genesect the last time that they had to battle. Gengar pleads with the psychic type to try and save its trainer as it has no idea where to start. The clone scans Ash's body and realizes the amount of stun spore in his lungs is lethal. Suddenly, its eyes begin to glow in a blue aura. Using its abilities, Mewtwo begins moving Ash's lungs with its mind, explaining to Gengar that it can do the same. The ghost type just needs to calm down and focus. The ghost looks at the boy, realizing that Mewtwo is right. In this moment, Gengar begins to take over the function of Ash's lungs, while the clone diverts its attentions to the red Genesect and Colorus, getting it operational again. Back down below, things with Iris have gotten to a breaking point. Kyurem is unleashing its centuries of pent-up fury in a flurry of ice and lightning. However, this is the moment that Riolu had faded, and that roar that we heard wasn't Kyurem, but three separate ones in unison, as from the cliffsides the remaining swords have arrived, as they can sense that things have reached a deciding point with their lifelong rival. As Iris and her Pokemon scatter, the girl rushes to grab Riolu as the swords charge Kyurem in an attempt to overtake the dragon with the last of their combined strength. However, this is in vain, as with Cobalion hurt and the others at half strength at best, Kyurem is able to overcome the three with its new power. With a failed triple sacred sword, the dragon grabs Virizion and hits it with a glaciate, freezing the grass type as Keldeo had been before. The remaining two do their best to dodge the ice attack as Cobalion and Terrakion do their best to find any opening with this monstrosity. However, this is where Iris can hear something calling her name. The champion looks around only to see the source of the cry. It's N, standing on the cliffside of the chasm. The girl orders Dragonite over to the green-haired man. As they land, Iris looks around asking N if there's anything that they can do to stop this. All of her Pokemon except for Haxorus, who is still in the chasm trying to battle with the swords, and Dragonites have been frozen over. I'm not sure, N says. I wasn't expecting this to be the site when we arrived. We? Iris questions. N points to the boat, explaining that Mewtwo is up there right now with Colorus trying to break the control my father has over the Genesect. Wait, Colorus? Is that a good idea to work with him? I'm afraid we have no choice. Colorus is the only one that can break that hold, as he was the one who created them, but I was hoping that we would arrive in time to stop my father. However, it seems I'm too late. And then looks down at Ghetsis, who is enjoying the carnage that is unfolded before him. The man has become drunk with power, and there will be no getting through to him. It's at this moment that Terrakion is flash frozen, leaving only Cobalion and Iris's ace. Iris is beginning to lose hope as well. Ash should have been done by now, but she hasn't heard anything from him or Go. Knowing that they have no choice, Iris turns, telling N to call to it. A look of shock appears on his face. No, Iris, I can't. If I do, then we'll be giving my father exactly what he wants, what he needs. Then things will truly be lost. Look around, Iris yells. Can it get any worse than this? That is our only chance, so call it. Reluctantly, N tells her fine, but it's not the way. However, they don't have another option right now, as he watches the last of the defense they have fall. It's here, and closes his eyes, as from beneath in the chasm, Ghetsis has noticed N's arrival. The man laughs as he can now bury the past with the freezing of his only son that betrayed him in favor of saving all of these pathetic excuses for people. Now Kyurem, freeze them, the sage orders. The dragon prepares its strongest blast of ice so that way it can fulfills its master's wish. Iris yells for N to hurry. However, the man is unresponsive. As the ice closes in, Iris mounts Dragonite and tells it to grab N and Riolu. They need to move. However, it's too late. The ice is only feet from them, and they are going to be caught in the blast. But then, a heat radiates throughout the area, saving the two humans from sure death. This causes Kyurem to stop as Ghetsis looks around. It can't be, he thinks. But then, in a brilliant orange hue, from within descends the last dragon of Unova, Reshiram. Ghetsis begins to laugh. Here I thought you would never be of use to me, he yells. However, you have finally come to your senses and decided to take your place beside me as the rulers of this world. I will never help your selfish ambitions, N yells. The man that was my father died long ago. All that is left like this husk of a former life is you. It is I, N and the Dragon of White, Reshiram, that will put a stop to you once and for all. Realizing that this will be a fight, Ghetsis changes his tone. It's a shame you still have that naivety that you had as a child, but have it your way. Kirim will entomb you in an eternal prison, and you will watch as your failures come to an end and my foreseen destiny is finally realized. Now, Kirim, attack Reshiram and become whole once again. The two dragons bolt into the sky as N yells for his friend to be careful. Iris tells the man that they can't stay here. They need to get down to the floor of the chasm and try to free the Pokemon. N nods and mounts Dragonite as they speed off, hoping that they will be able to free everyone in time. Back with Go, the boy is in a trance as Raboot has unlocked a power that the boy has never seen before. The rabbit is flaming in heat and battling all out with every Cryogonal. Zinzolin watches as the snowflakes fall one by one. This enrages the man as Go has now come to his senses. Raboot, we need to get to Arctozolt. The rabbit is fully aware of this as it has been slowly moving forward. Zinzolin orders Baratic to end this nuisance. The ice type, using its overwhelming size, tries to crush the rabbit with a brick break, but this isn't going to be enough as Raboot's blaze ability flares. It's at this moment the rabbit unveils a move that it had learned under the stress of this battle. Suddenly, its foot flares and flames and launches it into the gut of the ice type, dropping it in one move. That was Blaze Kick, Go says. This leaves Zinzolin with nothing on his side. The sage is angered beyond belief and he yells at the boy, "How dare you!" But this is met with a Blaze Kick to the gut, dropping him as the Pokemon had been. Go then rushes to Arctozolt. While the ice type is hurt, with some R&R, it will be back to normal. Not wanting this guy or his Pokemon to pose any more of a threat, Go locks them all in the containment units in this area of the ship. Go then turns to Raboot and thanks it for helping him, but this is met with a shrug and a casual lean on the wall while it awaits for what the boy to decide on their next move is going to be. Looking around, Go doesn't see any signs of Pikachu, so he recalls Arctozolt. "Come on," he says, "we need to find Ash and Pikachu." They then run off, flipping the locks on all the cages to ensure that they won't be getting free. Now we move over to the bridge as Gengar is currently using its powers to work the stun spore slowly out of the boy's lungs. It gets to the point that Ash is able to breathe on his own once again and Gengar can focus on removing the stun spore. While this is happening, Colorus is working on breaking the link with Genesect. Luckily, it seems that they weren't smart enough to lock a backdoor that he had installed in the 5 metallic bugs. Mewtwo asks if it's done. Colorus responds that he is ready, but there is one problem. The moment he reactivates Genesect, it will attack due to its previous commands still being its primary programming. It will take 2 minutes for the new commands to be uploaded. With a deep sigh, Mewtwo knows what this means. Then, in a glow of intense energy, it takes on its mega form. Smiling, Colorus asks how Mewtwo likes that he included that in its base DNA. "Just activate red," the clone says in an irritated voice. "Very well." The scientist then pushes a button. Suddenly, the bug's eyes glow and it begins to rampage. An intense battle breaks out as Mewtwo uses its power to confine red from any of the vital computers on the bridge. This causes them to break through the floors below, ending up in the engine room. Knowing that they need this to power the upload, Mewtwo plays defense as Red fires Technoblasts through the room, attacking anything that it lays its eyes on. Up above, Gengar has finally made enough progress that Ash has started to wake up. The boy is weak and unclear about his surroundings, but when he sees Pikachu, Ash finally remembers everything and adrenaline begins to run through his veins, causing him to jolt up to check on the mouse. However, that's not the only thing that catches his eye as Colorus is standing above the both of them, while Gengar is now levitating to protect its trainer. But the scientist tells the boy that he's here as a friend. Colorus is actually on his side this time. Unaware about what happened, Ash is very skeptical about this, stating that Colorus is the reason why they are all in this mess. The scientist nods that he understands, but ask your ghost, who spent the whole time I was working to free the Genesect while they were keeping you alive. I'm trying to free it and the others. Ash looks at Gengar, to which it nods, confirming Colorus's claim. Okay, well, that doesn't mean I need to trust you. Besides, I have more important things to worry about. Your Pikachu is badly hurt, Colorus says. If you let me, I can save it. But Ash remembers the last time that Colorus had an interaction with Pikachu and is quick to decline this offer in favor of finding someone a little bit more trustworthy. However, the ship begins to rattle. What was that? Ash yells. Colorus responds, telling the boy that Mewtwo is doing its best to contain the red Genesect until his upload is complete and it is freed from the control of plasma. And as for your Pikachu, Colorus then turns to the main screen to show the battle with Reshiram and Kirim outside. I don't think that help is coming. So, if you want to save Pikachu, then you will need to trust me. And why should could I? Ash yells in anger. Because the plans they used to cause this to Pikachu were designed by me, and I know how to reverse them. Out of choices, Ash listens to what Colorus has to say. They used Pikachu as a battery to power Zekrom. But why, Ash questions. However, he remembers when the both of them first came to Unova. That day, Pikachu was struck by electricity from the dragon. That's right, Colorus says. When I learned of this, I realized that your Pikachu could do something that no other Pokemon could. Act as a second power source for Zekrom to give it the edge needed to battle with Kyurem. So that's what Ghetsis had done to it? Pikachu was drained of everything, including its life energy. Well, then how do you suggest we save it, Ash yells. Simply, really. We put the power back. I was the one who designed the ship, and there are many things that it can do that not even Team Plasma knows about. I can use it as a conductor to draw the electricity from Kyurem and redirect it into Pikachu. This should be enough to save its life. Knowing that he has no other options, Ash asks what he needs to do. Colorus tells the boy he needs to put Pikachu on the platform on the front of the ship. Once the process starts, the power will be channeled into the ship's motors, then fed into it at a safe rate. However, as if fate was trying to make this impossible, an explosion can be felt from the engine room of the ship. Suddenly, the freight begins to lose power. Colorus calls out to Mewtwo, asking what just happened. The clone explains that Genesect hit 2 of the 3 engines. They are now going to crash. Colorus realizes that this is much worse than a crash. He tells Ash to hurry. They have no time. He needs to start the power transfer now. If they don't, and the ship loses power, then they will be unable to save Pikachu or Genesect, as all the systems will be dead and the download will fail. But without the engines, how will you divert the power from Kyurem? Colorus tells the boy that he is going to have to feed it directly into Pikachu and draw on it at the same time. It will be the only way that they can keep the system active long enough for both tasks to be completed. But the man warns that because the electricity that Pikachu will be channeling will be unfiltered, it could end the mouse's life. It seems like we have no choice, Ash says with a heavy heart. Looking at the mouse, he tells it, I need you to pull through, buddy. Please, I can't do this without you. Colorus then tells Ash to put the mouse on the platform outside. He is going to start the transfer. Ash heads out to the front of the ship, as all the while he can feel the rumbling from the battle with Mewtwo and Genesect below. Setting the mouse on the platform, Ash yells for Colorus to start the transfer now. Inside the bridge, Colorus starts the sequence as he watches the ship struggle to power the system and the one for the download. The scientist yells that they need more power. They don't have enough for the engines to start the drain on Kyurem. However, there is another glaring issue. The third engine is beginning to overheat and is shutting down to prevent it from damaging itself. A failsafe to prevent the ship from ever needing an external maintenance. Colorus reaches out to Mewtwo, telling the clone that the last engine is going to fail before the download is complete. How long do you need? The clone says. 60 seconds. Mewtwo declares that it will buy what time you need, but it will take all the energy I have left. The clone's eyes begin to glow as the ship does as well. The psychic type is using everything it has to hold the ship and Genesect in place till the download is complete. However, they still need a source of power to kick on all the remaining systems, or they won't be able to stop Kyurem or save Pikachu. Leave it to me, Ash yells. The boy calls on Dracovish, Gabite, Duat, and Gengar. All at once, they launch an attack in the direction of Kyurem. This comes at a really good time, as the dragon was poised to take control of the battle as it had cornered Reshiram. Now the dragon was able to avoid being taken down. This causes Kyurem to turn its wrath on the boat, firing a fusion bolt. This is what Ash was wanting, telling Colorus to be ready. Suddenly, the ship's systems kick online and the draining system is activated. A smile comes across Colorus's face. Alright, clear the platform, or you may be turned to dust. Ash and his Pokemon jump down as the systems kick to life. A slow flow of electricity begins to pour into the mouse. Below, Kyurem fires another fusion bolt at Reshiram, only for it to vanish as it summons the power to do so. This leaves the dragon confused as Reshiram is finally able to cause the first bit of damage to it with the fusion flare. This is where Ghetsis yells for Kyurem to abandon the battle with Reshiram for now. It needs to deal with the ship if they wish to make it whole. Now, knock it out of the sky at once. The sage then pushes a button on his staff, causing Kyurem's eyes to glow red before it takes off after the boat. Seeing this, Iris yells to End that they need to stop it. Ash is up there trying to find Pikachu and a way to stop Kyurem. The green-haired man calls to Reshiram, telling it of the situation. Though it has been wounded, the white dragon takes off in pursuit. This results in another clash that forces out another fusion bolt that is then absorbed by the ship. Knowing they can't sit by, Iris and End mount Dragonite and take off to the boat to provide whatever support they can. Quickly joining Ash on the deck, the boy fills them in on what's going on. Above, Colorus watches the countdown as it begins to reach its final seconds. At this moment, it looks like they are going to make it as a dragon pulse bounces off the barrier. Colorus begins the final countdown in his mind, thinking thinking they are close, but another Dragon Pult is coming their way, and Mewtwo tells Colorus that it can no longer hold on. Suddenly, the purple aura around the freight fades, and it is struck broadside by the attack, causing the ship to begin to spiral to the ground. This causes panic to set in, as there isn't anything that they can do. The power transfer with Pikachu isn't complete, but the countdown for Genesect is, as it goes limp. The last thing Mewtwo says before it passes out is, "We saved you." Feeling the threat has been dealt with, Kyurem then turns his attention back to Reshiram, and the battle continues with the White Dragon being immediately overpowered. Even its most powerful fusion flare isn't enough to stop this half-complete fusion, as it drives Reshiram into the ground below. Though the heat of Reshiram's flames has an unforeseen consequence, as it begins to melt the ice. This leaves one of the other Genesect exposed. Suddenly, its eyes light up, and a blast of energy frees it from its ice prison. This allows the bug to locate the others that are trapped within the ice, rushing to free them and dodging the battle that is literally on top of it. In a matter of seconds, the 4 metal bugs are all free, and they get a signal directing them to the falling ship. Colorus is calling them for help. Unable to fight this override, the 4 bugs take their flight mode and position themselves around the boat. This allows it to hover for a brief moment, as Colorus is able to divert some of the power that is being fed into Pikachu into the remaining engine, allowing it to restore flight capabilities for the boat temporarily. However, this isn't enough resistance, and they are still going to a crash. Even with the assistance of Go, who has finally joined the group, the boat will still crash, and everyone inside will be hurt or worse. But just as it seems that they have reached the end, an explosion from inside of the boat erupts from within, and the red Genesect emerges to rush and help in its brethren to slow the ship just enough so that way they will be able to maintain their flight. However, this is a moot point, as the battle with Reshiram and Kyurem is nearly at a climax. En and Iris rush to the bridge of the ship. "How do we stop Kyurem?" they all yell. The scientist states that there is only one way, but based upon their agreement, if he does it, then the Genesect will be used as weapons once again, he declares then. I don't think Mewtwo will be too happy about that. Looking out to the battle, En asks what his father's plans are for Reshiram. Colorus says it's simple. Ghetsis will use the technology of the ship to fuse it with Kyurem, returning the dragon to its original form. The only way to stop it is to capture his staff. It is the only control for the fusion system. Iris and En weigh their options, as more electricity is absorbed by another fusion bolt. You better make a choice. We are running out of time. Fine, En yells reluctantly. Do it. I will get the staff from my father. Iris, please, take me down to where the old man is. The champion looks at En with a nod and calls upon Dragonite. The last thing the green-haired man says before they depart is to activate the Genesect. Use them to divert the attention of Kyurem. Colorus gets to work, knowing that doing this has a repercussion that no one but him is currently aware of. Outside, Kyurem finally stands over a now cold Reshiram. Smiling ear to ear, Ghetsis begins to activate the fusion process, as the ice dragon lets out a victorious roar that echoes throughout the chasm. However, this is going to be interrupted by a barrage of technoblasts from the Genesect, as Colorus was successful in activating their Sentry mode. The bugs seem to have lost all of their faculties except one, the command that is playing over and over again in their head: attack Kyurem. This draws the dragon off of Reshiram, as it is unable to deal with the 5 separate opponents at once and has become enraged by this fact, while its master screams for it to return. They have almost achieved their dream. However, En yells as he jumps down from Iris's Dragonite. Father, you have to stop. Back on the boat with Ash and Go, the two watch on, as do all of their Pokemon, waiting to see if Pikachu is going to respond to the electricity that is being fed into its body. Ash stands silent, hoping to get it to wake up. However, with each passing moment, hope drains from the boy little by little. Go wants to say something, but is unsure of what. This is something that the boy had never thought he would have to deal with, nor had hoped to deal with. But then Colorus comes over the intercom, telling Ash that they should have seen some sort of results by now. Pikachu's body is fully charged with electricity, but it's not waking up. Keep going, Ash yells. He knows that this isn't it. However, this is when a flash happens before them and a very weak Mewtwo teleports in. I'm afraid Colorus is right, the clone says. In order for them to gain the power they need to overpower Kyurem, Ghetsis tapped its life force. I can feel that it doesn't have enough to keep going and its body is going to shut down. This causes Ash to become absolutely hysterical. No, it can't be, the boy yells. You have to do something. Mewtwo, I know you can save Pikachu. You were created with abilities that no other Pokemon has. However, this is where Colorus steps in to join them. I'm afraid that Mewtwo can't, Ash. It has been too badly hurt. If it were to try to do something like that, then it would come at the cost of its own life. Would you really ask it to sacrifice its life for Pikachu's? The boy looks at the clone, then to the mouse, as the emotions of him and all of his Pokemon are beginning to well up. They have all known Pikachu far longer than any other Pokemon. They all want to do something, but don't know what. I'm sorry, Mewtwo says. I can't do that. I have found my place in this world, and it is to make sure that the Pokemon that were not born naturally can exist. If I'm not here, then they lose their only line of protection. However, this falls on deaf ears. Ash can't hear anymore, only focus on the fact that he is going to lose his best friend. No, it can't be. It can't happen like this, Ash yells. This is where we pan to just behind as an unconscious Riolu sits from where Iris had come aboard. The fighting type seems to be having dreams flashing in his head. Ash fights with a Lucario, telling Ash that Pikachu ran away from him because he was a bad trainer. Then Ash finds Pikachu in a place that feels so familiar. Then Lucario, pleased that Ash had sacrificed everything to find his friend. And finally, Lucario making the ultimate sacrifice, while Ash and Pikachu both weep for it as the image fades to nothing. Then, every experience the fighting type has had from now to the time it had before it hatched, the emotions it was responding to was Ash. Riolu then hears it, the boy's heartbreaking cry for Pikachu. Suddenly, a burst of aura erupts from the fighting type, catching the attention of everyone. Riolu, Ash says, only for its eyes to shoot open, glazed over in aura. Ash asks if it's alright, but it says nothing, not even acknowledging the others as it walks into the direction of Pikachu. Ash tries to step forward to stop it, but Mewtwo tells the boy to wait. Riolu is acting on pure instinct. The clone doesn't know how, what, or why, but there is no malice in Riolu. It's guided by the aura, and its intentions are pure. Wait, guided, Ash says, flashing back to his final moments with Lucario at the Tree of Beginning. The boy runs and watches as Riolu stops at Pikachu, raising its paws, and it begins to glow even brighter. Down below, Iris and N land by Ghetsis. The green-haired man pleads with his father to stop. This has gone on far too long. Too many people and Pokemon have suffered. However, this just causes the sage to laugh. After all this time, you still refer to me as your father. I never understood that. A son was the last thing I treated you as. We never had a relationship like that. But you would still show me that respect after all of the harm you caused the Plasma organization? It's a bit curious, so I will entertain this request of you to appeal to my better half. Why should I stop my actions? Of what purpose is me doing so after so much has been sacrificed? The lives lost, the ones who have suffered. If it stops now, then all that would mean that I am just a power-hungry madman looking to control everything. Iris begins to say something, but is met with a hand from N telling her that he will respond. Do you remember that day when I was a child, father? The day before all of this. The day when she was still here. This comment gets Ghetsis to clench as he demands that N not mention her. Why not? After all, that was the last day we had a family. The day you made that promise to always protect me, to make sure that I would stay as pure as I was when I was a child. You truly are naive to the way the world works, aren't you, boy? Ghetsis says in anger. Why do you think I built Plasma after she passed? This was all to make sure I could honor her last wish. After she was gone, I knew that I needed to protect you, but the only way I could allow you to hold on to who you were was to keep the world from you. But as you grew, I knew one truth would eventually come to light. You would eventually find the world, no matter how much I kept you from it. But watching you grow up, I knew that it was something that you wouldn't be able to handle. So I sought a way to change that. That is when Plasma was born, with one goal above all other, to make you the king. The best way to protect you from the world would be to give you complete and total control over it. That way you could shape it in the image that you thought it needed to be. Your innocence was perfect to guide the world into a future that was going to be bright and plentiful for everyone. But then that day changed everything. You just couldn't listen to what you were told. You had to explore outside of the castle. Did you really think that I could be kept locked away forever, Ann yells? No, but it wasn't time for you to see the world. Only a few more years and you would have been ready. But instead, you found the white orb and you were forever changed. I lost my son that day, like his mother so many years before. No, I just learned the truth. The world is a lot more complicated than one single vision. Everyone sees this place we live in differently, and that is the beauty of it. Why can't you accept that, Father? Because there is only one truth. My truth. It was what carried us past your mother into the future we are in now. We are only seconds away from the world I envisioned, the world of safety and security that I wanted for you. However, at every turn, you stand in my way. This has brought me to my own truth. This world that I wanted for you cannot exist with you. So, my son, one must perish if the other is going to be born. It is here that Ghetsis lunges at N, but luckily Iris is able to save him with the help of Dragonite. Then, suddenly, the sage opens his staff and pushes a button that sends Kyurem into a frenzy and loses all the restraint it had pad as its eyes glow in a pale yellow and surges with electricity. The dragon begins to attack, slashing at everything that moves. Ghetsis tells En farewell. He will make sure that he is remembered. Seeing that there is no reasoning with his father, En tells Iris that they need to get up close once more. The only way they are going to end this is if he can get the staff, but he's not going to put her in harm's way. This all started because of him and his father, so it's only right that I am the one to bring it to an end, the green-haired man says. Iris tries to argue, but he points out that they don't have time. He can feel that Kyurem is expanding its life force to overpower the Genesect and Reshiram. If they don't hurry, then it will also fall to his father's selfish desires. Iris nods as she tells En that she will draw Kyurem's fire so he can get close to his dad. En nods, jumping from Dragonite, and begins to run towards the old man. This ends now, he yells. All the while, Iris is providing cover from the air, but this is beginning to finally take a toll on her Dragonite as well. This leads to both her and Dragonite being struck from the air with a dragon pulse that causes it to crash land. The girl can do nothing as another glaciate is preparing to blanket the area. The champion looks at Dragonite, who is now standing before her in an attempt to protect its trainer. Well, at least we will be with the others, she says to herself, before grabbing the paw of her dragon to face this head on. However, the ice attack suddenly stops when a combination of attacks come from above. Looking up, Iris can see Ash and Go with all of their Pokemon, even Pikachu. The mouse seems to be okay. However, there is a problem. The ship is losing power and the propellers are failing, but at the helm is Colorus as he aims the plasma fright directly for Kyurem. The dragon, now feral in nature, begins to attack the boat, but Ash and Go use this as a means to counter and block the attack. Then, at the last moment, as the ship crashes into Kyurem, Mewtwo uses what little strength it has left to teleport them next to Iris as an explosion occurs. Flames envelop the area as the fate of the dragon is unsure for the moment. The confusion of this turn of events gives En the opening needed to get in close to Ghetsis and slam the old man on the ground. Now on top of his father, En braces himself so that he can't move. "It's over," he yells. Ghetsis looks deep into the boy's eyes. "There it is," he says. "I was beginning to doubt that you had it in you, but I can see it in your eyes. The aggression, the hatred, the longing that you have always yearned for. It's all there. But above all else is the resolve to stop me at any cost. So do it. You know I won't stop. All of this will happen again. I will have the future that I envision, no matter the cost," he says with a sadistic smile. In this moment, En displays something he has never before: anger. He picks up the staff and declares that the old man won't ever hurt anyone ever again as he motions to bring down the staff on the sage's head. However, this is stopped when Iris yells that En can't turn into him. He spent his whole life trying not to let his father control him, but if he does this, then Ghetsis wins. The green-haired man looks his father in the eyes before letting out a loud cry and slamming the staff into the ground before standing up, telling Iris she is right. "I won't be manipulated by you anymore. It's a shame. I thought you had finally resolved to do what was needed," Ghetsis says. But this is when the ground begins to tremble. "However, it seems my will is unstoppable," the sage says, as from within the fire of the boat, Kyurem freezes everything in order to take control of the situation. This glaciate is so powerful that it starts to affect the storm above the chasm. The only thing that stops our heroes from freezing is Reshiram using the last of its powers to create a wall of fire before it collapses. This leaves everyone at the mercy of Kyurem, as it is now acting of its own free will, as Ghetsis explains that crashing the ship was the worst thing that they could possibly have done, as it severed the control that he had over the dragon. Now they are at the will of the beast and its lone desires to be whole again. Kyurem begins a slow and steady walk in the direction of Reshiram. The dragon aims to absorb it. However, En won't let this happen. He yells for Ash and his friend Go, asking them to run interference any way that they can. He needs to get back to the ship. While the freight is down, he's sure that Colorus can still get it to work, but the staff is the key. However, En tells Ash that he will need the assistance of Pikachu, as they will need a power source for this process. Ash is hesitant as he nearly lost the mouse, but Iris tells Ash to go with En. She will stay out here, and Dragonite with the rest of the Pokemon will hold off Kyurem the best they can. Ash nods and tells Pikachu to come with him, but the boy is stopped as Riolu wants to come as well. It feels like it needs to be with Ash. However, the boy tells it that he needs it out here. It is part of being a team, and they will need its support in order to make this work, while the sage just sits there watching his life's work unfold before his eyes. Finally, aligning with what Ash is saying, Riolu nods as it turns to face the dragon. The battle will begin here. All of the Pokemon begin to attack at the command of Iris and Go, as Ash and En do what they can to dodge the blasts of ice ice. Luckily, the Genesect are able to provide what support they can from the sky, keeping the two safe as they make their way across the ground and around Kirim into the ship. The boat is badly damaged, but they are able to navigate into the dark corridors until they find their way to the bridge. Inside, they are joined by Colorus, as some of the machines have been toppled over, and N and Ash are forced to help him clear the way. Once the doctor has a place to work, N points out the staff, but they are going to need to hurry. Kirim is no longer under any control and it has become feral. Well, I can engage the separation process, but it's going to need a lot of electricity, more than Pikachu can provide on its own, Colorus says. Get the machine ready, Ash declares. Let us worry about the power, as he puts on a Z-ring. Colorus gets to work, setting things up with what reserve power the ship has left. It takes a few minutes that they don't have outside, as N urges the scientists to move faster, but Colorus fires back, stating that he is doing this in near darkness, so if he can do better, then please do so. But this is a moot point, as Colorus tells them that they are finally ready. They just need the power. This is when Ash and Pikachu call on the power of the Alola region, making their movements one and sharing their life energies with each other. Suddenly, the mouse glows in an intense rainbow light as the ship roars to life from the power surge. That's it, Colorus says. You just need to feed it into the main power flow. Outside, Riolu stops in mid-dodge from a Dragon Pulse, only to feel something strange. It's not only Ash, but Pikachu as well. Having shared its life force with the mouse, Riolu can see everything that it has been through with Ash, including that tree once more. Pikachu wanted to find Ash just as much as the boy wanted Pikachu. This bond, Riolu feels like it had that once before, but it's unsure where. However, it's going to have to wait to find out the answers to this, as its distraction has allowed Kirim to close the gap between itself and Reshiram, as the beast now stands with the foot on the neck of the white dragon. Suddenly, it and Reshiram begin to glow as Kirim intends to absorb its other half and become complete. However, Riolu can feel the fear that the unconscious dragon is letting out. It's going to lose its life and freedom, not by choice, but because of the greed of another. This intense burst of emotion causes a surge of aura in Riolu that allows it to blast Kirim with a vacuum wave. All the while, Iris and Go are watching this unfold. The two yell for the fighting type to get out of the way as Kirim has turned its attention to it, but this gives the opening needed as the ship roars to life and a beam of energy is shot at Kirim. Suddenly, the dragon screeches in pain as it glows in an intense light. This causes Ghetsis to yell in panic, asking what they have done. His masterpiece was nearly complete. However, it's too late, as a percussion of energy is sent throughout the surrounding area, knocking everyone down. The Genesect do their best to protect the Mewtwo and the humans. Once everyone can see again, the whole place looks like a war zone. Kirim and Zekrom have been separated, but all three of the dragons are now on death's door. However, things are not over yet, as Mewtwo can sense someone coming. The clone struggles to its feet, feeling out for any life that is trapped within the barren ice wasteland. Using its abilities, the ice around everyone begins to shatter, revealing all of Iris's captured Pokemon as well as the Swords of Justice. This captures Go's attention as he sees them and he wants to check on them, but as the boy closes in and realizes that there is one here he hasn't seen before, another light flashes across the area. Suddenly, as their vision returns, Iris and Go see nothing but their Pokemon in Ghetsis. The swords, Mewtwo, the Genesect, and the three dragons have all vanished. Go looks around the area where the swords had last stand and had been frozen. In the permafrost, he can see two sets of footprints that he hasn't scanned before. The boy takes a picture of both of them with his Rotom phone, as from within the ship, Ash and Pikachu emerge, asking if anyone has seen Colorus or N. Both shake their head, while Riolu runs up to Ash and Pikachu. The boy kneels down, thanking the fighting type for saving Pikachu, and for helping the others. They wouldn't have been able to do this without it. It's in this moment that Riolu finally understands what Ash meant by being part of a team and things that are bigger than it. This is where they are joined by the others as their friends celebrate a job well done, though they are unsure if it is truly complete. However, this is going to be interrupted when a helicopter lands rather abruptly. Before the engines are even cut off, from within, Looker jumps out, demanding to know where Colorus, Ghetsis, N, and Dr. Fuji have gone. The trio points over to Ghetsis, who seems to be in shock at his plans being ended once again. But this is where Iris questions, "What do you mean Fuji?" Looker tells the girl that the doctor vanished in a blinding light moments before they got here. Now they have a lot of explaining to do. Ash, Iris, and Go all look at each other and think the same thing. They are not really sure they understand it themselves. As Looker tells them that they need to start at the top, we move over to another part of the Pokemon world, a place that is hidden from man by the original Mewtwo, the pools beneath Mount Cana. Here we see that the Swords of Justice and the Genesect have been able to regain their strength by bathing in the healing waters of the mountain. The same for Reshiram and Zekrom. They have all been restored to their full strength, but seem to be angered as the source of all this. Kirim is here too. Aggression seems to be boiling, as they are all thinking the same thing, but from within one of the pools erupts the clone Mewtwo, now fully restored. There will be none of this, it says, taking on its mega form. There has already been enough fighting. It's over. We are all free. Realizing that the clone and the Genesect aim to stand between Kirim and the rest of them, they all stand down. Good, the clone says. While we were not volunteers in this war, we were still able to secure our freedom, but we need to keep it that way. The source of it is the human's desire for ultimate power. So to keep us all safe, I will become the keeper of this dragon, its forever guardian. Now, you must all go. This place is to remain a secret, so I will wipe your memories of it to make sure that no one ever finds these healing pools. Suddenly, Mewtwo's eyes glow. Then, in an instant, everyone except Kirim, Mewtwo, and Genesect are left as the clone teleports them all back to the outside world, far from here or the humans. But a voice asks Mewtwo, what will it do with Kirim? The clone raises its hand as the dragon begins to glow. Then in a flash, it reverts to a gray orb. It will remain here, in secrecy for the rest of eternity. This is when it's revealed that N was brought here, as well as Colorus. The scientist asks if Mewtwo intends to keep its end of the bargain. You broke the link that Plasma has on the Genesect, the clone asks. Colorus nods. However, he informs Mewtwo that there is a side effect. He had to use the clones as a weapon in order to save everyone, and because he override their base programming, they could see results that are not too favorable in the future. Then, looking over that as creations, Colorus states that the next time the Genesect decide that they want to go haywire, he may not be able to do anything about it. Mewtwo's eyes glow as the blonde-haired man begins to levitate and freak out. Wait, we had a deal, Colorus yells. Mewtwo tells the scientist that his freedom is his, but if the clone learns that Colorus is involved with anyone like Plasma again, it will know about it, and Colorus will pay the ultimate price in some way, shape, or form. Colorus just laughs, telling the clone to remember who holds all the cards. Mewtwo glares at him before waving its hand, sending Colorus away to an unknown part. It seems things have finally come to a close, N says. However, Mewtwo states they haven't. There is one more thing that I must attend to. Then the clone teleports away, leaving N and the Genesect alone with Kirim. It is here we find Old Man Fuji, as he is alone on an island that he hasn't seen in many years. Suddenly before him stands the clone that he has been seeking. I know you have been searching for me and won't stop until you get the answers you seek. This is the one and only time you will have them, so make it fast. Fuji isn't sure where to start, but the first question he asks is if Mewtwo is aware of the other like it, the one he created. The clone nods, but states the other keeps its presence hidden from it so they can lead separate lives, but it likes it that way. Fuji then asks the big question, do you know why you were created? Mewtwo explains that from what it can remember, the other one had sought out Colorus because it needed another body to be made. At first, the clone had requested something in the form of a human girl, but when they couldn't get the DNA to stabilize, they did the only thing that they could. The one thing that Mewtwo couldn't do would clone its own DNA. This comment causes a little tear from the old man's eyes. Fuji nods that it was a failsafe programmed into the DNA of Mewtwo itself. If anyone tried to copy it without the right sequence, then the DNA would just break down, and the only person that knew of that was me and Colorus. He then asks what it remembers after that. I remember always being stuck in a dark place, like there was another always holding on to me there. But then one day I was forced from the darkness into the light, like I was being born. I saw flashes of a life that I'd never had. Then I awoke, only to see two, Colorus and the other. But before I could even form a thought, it was gone, and the only words I had heard were, please, live your life out of the shadows. Then the playful laughter of a young girl as it vanished, and that was the last time I saw the other. Fuji is slowly beginning to sob as the old man asks the last question. Amber, is that you? However, this answer he won't get, as this causes Mewtwo to shake, then vanish, leaving the old man there to cry in solitude. And this is where we are going to end things for now. So tell me, how did you feel about this part? What did you feel about Team Plasma and their efforts to try and achieve Kirim's ultimate form, and using Pikachu as a battery to power Zekrom so they can capture Kirim? How about the fact that N was able to summon Reshiram in an attempt to overpower this Kirim Black that have been created by Ghetsis, or the Genesect and their programming? Is there going to be something worse on the horizon involving them because of the commands that Colorus had to override? What about Pikachu? Is it truly out of the woods, or is its problems just beginning? Or how about Riolu? Is these memories that it's having of its own life or someone else's? And of course, let's not forget, what is going to become of the Grey Dragon Kyurem? If Mewtwo claims to be the protector of all things that are not natural to this world, can it truly allow it to stay dormant for eternity within the pools of Mount Cana? Or are there going to be other forces at play? And how about Dr. Fuji and the question that was left unanswered by Mewtwo? What implications will this have on the old man and the rest of this scenario going forward? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below.